My boyfriend dumped me after I suggested an open relationship. Hello, true story. My name is Vanessa, to be honest. I started watching your channel a while back, but I didn't watch religiously until recently. The reason is because my ex-boyfriend dumped me, and the breakup was directly connected to me asking for an open relationship. I wanted to share my side because so many women are painted as villains in these situations. And while I do take responsibility for the way I went about things, I don't believe I'm the monster my ex made me out to be. I'll warn you now, this might be long because I want to get all of it off my chest, and I hope your audience can at least hear me out. How we met and became serious. My ex and I had actually known each other for over a year before things got serious. I'll call him Ryan here because I don't want to put his real name out there. We met through mutual friends. One of my girlfriends was dating one of his coworkers. At first, I didn't think much of him. He was attractive, funny, a little shy at times, but nothing about him screamed, "I'm going to be your boyfriend one day." We'd run into each other at a couple of social gatherings, texted here and there, followed each other on Instagram, the usual casual acquaintance stuff. Then earlier this year, after both of us had gone through some rocky dating experiences, we somehow gravitated back toward each other. We started hanging out one-on-one, grabbing coffee, going for long drives, and just talking about life. It surprised me how easy it was with him. He was thoughtful in ways I wasn't used to. For example, I remember one night I casually mentioned that I loved those peach gummy rings from the gas station. A week later, he showed up at my door with a whole bag of them, saying he saw them and thought of me. That's the kind of guy he was. After about 2 months of consistently spending time together, we decided to make it official. That was around 3 months before the breakup. So while we had known each other for over a year, the relationship part was still pretty fresh. My curiosity about polygamy. Here's where things get complicated. I'll admit up front that long before Ryan and I ever became official, I had been curious about polygamy and open relationships. I'm not saying I had fully researched it or that I had a burning desire to live that way, but I'd come across podcasts, YouTube videos, and even some social media threads where people talked about how liberating it was, how it took away jealousy, and how it created room for honesty. Some women in those communities said it helped them feel more fulfilled because they didn't have to expect one man to meet every single emotional and physical need. That idea stuck with me. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, no, I wasn't cheating on Ryan. I didn't have anyone else lined up. I didn't even have anyone I was talking to. It was just this curiosity I had, and the longer we were together, the more I wondered how he would feel about it. The night I asked, I'll never forget the night everything blew up. It was a Saturday, and Ryan had spent the night at my place. We had gone out to dinner, had a couple of drinks, came back to my apartment, watched a movie, and ended up being intimate. Everything felt good. We were laughing, cuddling. The mood was light, and I honestly thought it was the perfect moment to bring it up. That was my mistake. I rolled over and said something like, "Babe, can I ask you something kind of serious?" He said, "Sure." I hesitated for a second, but then went straight into it. "How would you feel about opening up our relationship? Not saying I want to go sleep around, but I've always been curious about polygamy, and maybe it could be something we explore together." The shift in his face was immediate. 1 second, he was smiling and rubbing my back. The next second, his expression was stone cold. His reaction. He sat up in bed, pulled the blanket off, and just stared at me. At first, I thought he was going to laugh it off or ask me to explain. But instead, he just shook his head and said, "Are you serious right now? 3 months in and you're already trying to open things up?" I tried to explain myself, but he didn't want to hear it. He got loud, which was unusual for him because Ryan was usually calm. He started calling me selfish, ungrateful, and even accused me of using him as a starter boyfriend. That one hurt because I did care about him. I tried to reassure him that I wasn't cheating. I even told him, if you want, you can look through my phone right now. You'll see I'm not hiding anything. But he didn't care. He just said, "It doesn't matter. The fact that you're even asking means I'm not enough for you." After that, he grabbed his overnight bag, shoved some of his things into it, and walked out the door. No dramatic slam, no tears, just gone. Why I don't think he should have reacted that way. Here's where people are probably going to disagree with me. I don't think Ryan should have reacted that way. Yes, I admit I could have approached it differently. Maybe not after sex, maybe not as casually as I did. But at the end of the day, I didn't cheat. I didn't betray him. I asked a question. If the answer was no, then fine. We could have had a conversation about boundaries, about what commitment meant to both of us. Instead, he treated me like I had just spit in his face. That's why I don't think it was fair. He acted like I had already broken the relationship, when really, I was trying to be transparent about a curiosity I had. Isn't that what relationships are supposed to be about? Communication. The aftermath. That night, I sat on my bed in shock after he left. I texted him twice, saying I didn't mean to upset him and that I just wanted an open conversation. No reply. I called once, went to voicemail. That night, I didn't sleep much. I kept replaying the moment in my head, wondering if I had ruined something that could have been great. The next morning, I saw he had posted on his Instagram story a photo of the sunrise with some song lyrics about betrayal. That stung because, again, I hadn't betrayed him. But clearly, he felt that way. Where things stand now. It's been months since that night, and I'll be honest, I spent the first 2 months trying to win him back. I'll save that part for a follow-up email because that's its own story. But as of now, we don't talk. He's moved on, and I'm still left wondering if I was truly wrong for bringing up my curiosity. I know some people will read this and think I'm just selfish, that I didn't value what I had. But my side of it is, I didn't want to hide my thoughts. I didn't want to suppress my curiosity and then maybe act on it secretly later. I wanted to talk to him about it openly. To me, that's honesty. To him, it was betrayal. So who's right and who's wrong? Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. After Ryan left my apartment that night, I told myself that maybe he just needed some space. People get emotional, they blow up, and then they cool down, right? So the next morning, I sent him a long text apologizing. I told him I didn't mean to hurt him, that I wasn't cheating, and that I just wanted us to talk about my curiosity openly. I didn't get a reply. I waited a few hours, checked his Instagram, and saw that sunrise story with the song lyrics about betrayal. That crushed me. I sent another text, this time shorter. Can we at least talk? No reply. By the evening, I couldn't take it. I called him, and he sent me to voicemail. That's when the pit in my stomach started to grow. Week 1. Over-explaining. That first week, I was in damage control mode. I thought if I could just explain myself enough, he'd calm down and see reason. So I started sending him these long paragraphs, almost essay-length texts, breaking down every point, that I wasn't cheating. That asking for an open relationship was just a thought, not a demand. That I brought it up because I trusted him. That I thought honesty was better than bottling it up. I poured my heart out in text after text, and I got nothing back. He left me on delivered. A couple of days in, I tried calling him at night. He didn't answer. The next day, I tried calling in the morning. Still nothing. That's when I started to panic. It wasn't just that he was upset, it was that he seemed to have completely shut the door. Week 2, showing up. By the second week, my anxiety was eating me alive. I know this is going to sound bad, but I decided to accidentally run into him. I knew the gym he went to, so I started going around the same time. The first time I saw him there, my heart dropped. He looked right at me, then turned away like I was a stranger. I tried to smile and wave, but he just kept walking. Another time I went to the coffee shop we used to go to. Sure enough, he walked in while I was there. I thought maybe it was fate, like the universe giving us a chance to talk. I got up, walked over, and said, "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" He looked at me coldly and said, "Vanessa, I don't have anything to say to you," and walked out without ordering. That crushed me. I sat there holding back tears, embarrassed that other people saw the rejection. Week 3, the gifts and letters. I told myself maybe words weren't enough. Maybe he needed to see that I was willing to put effort in, so I bought him little things I knew he liked, those peach gummy rings, his favorite energy drink, even a hoodie I thought he'd look good in. I left them on his doorstep with handwritten notes apologizing and asking for another chance. I never got a thank you, not even an acknowledgement. Later, I found out from a mutual friend that he threw most of it away. That hurt worse than if he had just yelled at me. At least yelling would have meant he still had some kind of feelings. Silence felt like I was invisible. Week 4, the breaking point. By the 4th week, I was exhausted emotionally. I had cried more in that month than I had in years. My friends were sick of hearing about it. My family told me to just let it go, but I couldn't. So I made the worst decision of all. I went to his job. Ryan worked at a small automotive shop, and one afternoon, I drove over there unannounced. I told myself I just wanted 5 minutes of his time. When he saw me walk in, the look on his face said everything. He pulled me aside and said, "Vanessa, you need to stop. I don't want this. I don't want you. Please leave me alone." I tried to plead with him, but he just shook his head and walked back into the garage. The other guys he worked with were staring, and I left feeling humiliated. That was my rock bottom. Weeks 5 and 6, slowly letting go. After the work incident, I finally realized I was making things worse. He didn't see my persistence as love. He saw it as pressure. I backed off, stopped calling, stopped showing up, stopped writing letters. That was the hardest part because it meant sitting with the silence. The reality that he really wasn't coming back. I started journaling, trying to process what had happened. That's when I realized something. I wasn't just trying to win Ryan back because I loved him. I was trying to win him back because I hated the idea of being rejected. My ego couldn't handle that he walked away so quickly. That realization hit me hard. What I learned. Looking back now, I can see that Ryan probably did the right thing by leaving. Not because I was cheating or because I'm a bad person, but because we were clearly not on the same page about what we wanted. To him, love meant exclusivity, commitment, and trust in one partner. To me, at the time, I was still exploring ideas like open relationships and polygamy. That doesn't mean I would have acted on them, but even entertaining the thought was too much for him. And maybe that's okay. Not everyone is meant to be compatible. I also learned that you can't force someone to forgive you or take you back. All I did in those 2 months was push him further away. Instead of giving him space to process, I crowded him with my panic. That was my biggest mistake after the initial conversation. Where I am now. It's been a while since then, and no, Ryan and I never reconciled. He's dating someone new now, and I don't plan on interfering. As much as it hurts to say, I wish him well. As for me, I've been focusing on myself. I've been going to therapy, talking through why I felt the need to push the idea of an open relationship in the first place. I've been reflecting on how I handle rejection and learning to accept that sometimes people's boundaries just don't align. I won't lie, I still miss him sometimes. But I also know that chasing after him the way I did was unhealthy. Closing thoughts. If anyone listening to your channel takes anything from my story, I hope it's this. Timing matters. Even if you want to be honest, think carefully about when and how you bring up something that could shake your relationship. Respect boundaries. If someone says no or walks away, chasing them relentlessly won't change their mind. It will only push them further. Rejection hurts, but it isn't the end of the world. It can be a chance to grow if you're willing to look at yourself honestly. When I left off in my last email, I said I had finally started backing off after humiliating myself at his job. That was the turning point. After that, the weeks started to blur together. At first, every day felt like a reminder of him. I couldn't drive past his favorite coffee shop without my stomach twisting. I couldn't open Instagram without wondering if I'd see a picture of him with someone new. But time does something interesting. The intensity of those feelings slowly dulls. It's like going from a roaring fire to glowing embers. The pain doesn't vanish overnight, but it becomes manageable. By the third month without him, I realized something shocking. I could go a whole day without thinking about him constantly. That was progress, therapy, and facing myself. Around that time, I started therapy. I don't want to sound dramatic, but I think it saved me from repeating the same cycle in the future. My therapist asked me a simple question in our first session. Why did you feel the need to bring up an open relationship so early on? At first, I got defensive. I said, I was just being honest. Isn't honesty supposed to be a good thing? But she pushed deeper. She asked me if maybe I used the idea of curiosity about polygamy as a way to avoid true vulnerability. If I kept relationships a little open-ended, then I never had to fully commit. That question hit me hard. Because the truth is, commitment scares me. It always has. With Ryan, we had just gotten serious after a year of knowing each other. Things were getting real. He was showing up for me, being consistent, and suddenly the weight of that responsibility terrified me. Did I subconsciously sabotage it by suggesting something outrageous? Maybe. Looking at my past patterns, therapy also forced me to look back at my dating history. And you know what? There's a pattern. With one ex, I always picked fights right when things were going well. With another, I started flirting with other guys online instead of dealing with my insecurities. And with Ryan, I threw out the idea of an open relationship instead of just admitting I was scared of being tied down. So it wasn't just about curiosity. It was about me not knowing how to sit with stability without sabotaging it. That realization stung, but it was also freeing, watching him move on. Not long after I started therapy, I found out through a mutual friend that Ryan was dating someone new. At first, my heart sank. It felt like confirmation that I had lost him for good. But then I thought about how quickly he had walked away from me and how firm he had been in cutting off all contact. Maybe he was always going to move on quickly, no matter what I did. I won't lie, I compared myself to his new girlfriend at first. I stalked her Instagram, yes, I know, unhealthy. She seemed sweet, grounded, and not the type to stir up drama. A part of me wanted to scream, why her and not me? But another part of me knew the answer. She probably gave him the kind of stability I never did. That realization hurt, but it also motivated me to do better for myself, rebuilding my life. Slowly, I started focusing on me again. I threw myself into hobbies I had neglected, painting, journaling, yoga. I signed up for a cooking class and met some amazing women who weren't afraid to call me out when I joked about my toxic habits. I also made a point to spend more time with my family. My mom especially became a rock for me. One night she told me, Vanessa, you can't keep running from love when it shows up. You think you're protecting yourself, but really you're just pushing away the good men who want to give you stability. Hearing that from her, someone who has been happily married for 30 years hit differently. Dating again. About 5 months after Ryan, I dipped my toes back into dating. Not anything serious at first, just casual coffee dates and dinners. And here's the funny part. Almost every guy I went out with reminded me, in some way, of why Ryan reacted the way he did. One guy told me straight up, If a girl asked me to open the relationship after 3 months, I'd be out the door too. Hearing that from someone who didn't even know my story stung, but it also validated Ryan's feelings. Another guy I dated briefly told me that he had been cheated on in the past, and the idea of openness made him feel sick. That conversation made me realize something. Not everyone is built for non-monogamy, and that's okay. I stopped bringing up the topic altogether because I realized it wasn't really what I wanted. What I wanted was to feel secure, and security doesn't come from multiple partners, it comes from trust, growth, and acceptance. The biggest shift happened when I finally stopped villainizing Ryan in my head. For a long time, I replayed that night and thought, he overreacted. He didn't even try to talk it out. But now, I see it differently. He had his boundaries. He knew what he wanted, exclusivity and commitment. And when I showed him I wasn't aligned with that, he chose himself and walked away. That's not weakness. That's strength. I admire him now for that, because I've realized that I need to start being that firm with my own boundaries too. The what ifs. Of course, there are still nights where I wonder what would have happened if I had handled things differently. What if I hadn't brought up the open relationship at all? What if I had just enjoyed what we had and let it grow naturally? Would we still be together? I'll never know. But what I do know is that the breakup forced me to confront parts of myself I had been avoiding for years. And maybe that's the gift Ryan unknowingly gave me. My message to other women. Since your channel has mostly men writing in, I want to take a moment to speak to the women who might be listening. Ladies, if you're curious about something in your relationship, whether it's open dynamics or a lifestyle change or anything that could rock the boat, think carefully about why you want it and how you bring it up. If you're asking because you're truly aligned with it, that's one thing. But if you're asking because you're scared of commitment, scared of boredom, or scared of vulnerability, then the problem isn't your partner. The problem is you. Don't make the mistake I did and risk losing a good man over your own fears. Where I am today. Today, I feel more grounded than I have in years. I'm not in a relationship right now, but for once, I'm okay with that. I don't feel the urge to chase someone or prove my worth through their attention. I'm learning to sit with myself, flaws and all. If love comes again, I want to meet it with open arms instead of self-sabotage. And as for Ryan, I'll always remember him as the one who taught me a hard but necessary lesson. Not through words, but through his actions. By walking away, he showed me that boundaries matter more than feelings sometimes. Closing. So that's my final update. I started this story thinking it was about my boyfriend overreacting, but it turns out it was about me finally growing up. Thank you for letting me share all of this true story. Writing these emails has been therapeutic in ways I didn't expect. If even one person hears this and thinks twice about how they approach their partner, then my embarrassment will have been worth it. Vanessa.